This is a recording of the QM analysis of the LAMS module that was presented to the class. The LAMS module is on flipping the classroom, and as we can see here, it talks about not being prescriptive, but actually is going to allow people to investigate a few different options there, being articulate storyline, team-based learning, and LAMS itself. It doesn't pretend to be inclusive of everything. It's just a quick look at how flipped classrooms work. Sorry for the quiet voice, and sorry that you have to turn up the sound. I'm trying to do this while my son's asleep next to me. Okay, so in terms of a course overview, it provides a pretty clear description of what it's about, but it doesn't really go into any great details about things like netiquette, so I'm going to give that a 0 there. The purpose of the course I think is pretty clear. Instructions may define various course components. There's really no description of how to use LAMS. If you haven't used it before, you might not be able to get it, but you'd have to be pretty dim. But nonetheless, there's no instructions, so we'll give that a 0. At this point, we're seeing some problems with the QM rubric already. It's really designed for something which is a complete course, not a component of a course, which this LAMS module is. So there's going to be some significant issues that we're going to encounter here, where a better analysis tool or a better framework might have done a job that might be more worthy of the work that's been put into the course module. So something like the 7 principles, where there's a lot more latitude for academic interpretation, would be more valuable. But nonetheless, I've chosen to use QM, so let's see where it leads us. But that's already a clear weakness in the QM rubric. It needs to be a full course. There's no link to policies, although it's part of a My Uni course, which means it's going to have the course profile where most of the policies are. Nonetheless, not in this case. It doesn't really talk about prerequisites. Nonetheless, give that a 0. Technical skills not clearly stated. There is no self-introduction, and the students are not asked to introduce themselves to the class. This is all part of an engagement process that the people who did the QM rubric deemed to be valuable based on the literature. So the general comments about this section: the overview doesn't do very well, mainly because the LAMS is a component of a course rather than the real one. Let's move on. So there's a document here we can look at, and then there's something we can do to search in Google. Let's have a quick look to see what that does. You can't see that, but it basically just lets you go and search in Google. Not very rewarding, but if you don't know how to use Google, I can't imagine there's too many people that do, you could actually be able to do that. So it's actually giving you a little bit of a leg up there. So in terms of the minimal technical skills, there really isn't much needed, and there's no instruction available there. So that's not a particularly useful thing. There's a spelling error up here as well. Okay. So there's a number of discussion forums here. So this is an opportunity to talk amongst the colleagues in the class about what flipping the classroom is, and it's people just testing it on here because they've been using this for this particular task. So there's some discussion forums there to aid in student learning. Okay, intended outcomes. So the intended outcomes: aware of a range of strategies for flipping classrooms, evaluate strategies. There's some fairly clear descriptions about what the learning objectives are. So they are indeed measurable. Whether they're measured or not is another matter, but they are measurable. This is a little bit difficult to scale. I'm just going to give that a 3 as well. All learning objectives are stated clearly and written from the student's perspective. Yes, pretty much. I'll give that a 3 as well. Instructions to students on how to meet the learning objectives are adequately described. So there's some descriptions down here. Submitting the design, be prepared to report back. There's a little bit of personalisation there as well, which I might just give them a little bit of an extra bonus there on the course overview and introduction because we've just got to the content. We don't know how they're going to meet these learning objectives just yet, but they seem quite appropriate for a LAMS module. A lot of the students that have been doing the QM stuff get this stuff pretty much right. They know how to design learning objectives, which is nice. Okay, let's see what we have here. As an approach to flipping classes, team-based learning has the following features: describes team-based learning, provides some references, extra places to go to get more information, and an introductory video on YouTube. So there's a fair bit of stuff there. So good resources that sit outside there. Let's have a look at this. We've got some instructional materials. So we'll see that. Yep. Problems of the instructions are clearly explained. Yes, that was pretty clear. Were they appropriately cited? Not so much consistently. That's something that most people don't do. The materials were current and they present a range of perspectives. Possibly not, but we won't go through and look through it all. Some instructions on how to use LAMS. Some information about storyline, how we can do stuff there. Place to put some stuff in. And then Kolb's experiential learning here. Let's have a look at the PowerPoint. It warns you the file is really big. It could actually be better if it just told you exactly how big it was, and it's going to take a long time to load. Okay, so that's something that should be there. It's not really clear if there are any optional materials or not here. Okay, let's move on to the next activity. There's going to be a discussion forum. So, considering the activity that you may flip, which of the forms of flipping may be most appropriate, explain why it's the case. So it's a chance for people to engage with the topic. Okay, and this final section here is basically a report on the flipped classroom, and it's clearly warned to keep it focused on just one thing, and then we submit the files. So that's pretty much the course. Let's have a look at our QM analysis. Things that were there. The types of assessment, measure the stated learning objectives. Yep, they were pretty good. The course grading policy, didn't see one. Let's have a look at the criteria. No, there was nothing really tied into that at all. Yeah, the assessment sequences were fine. Model for opportunities, they have a couple. It's only a module. So I'm even just applying a bit of latitude here within the QM rubric. And here we've got the learning activities, the learner interaction, promotes the achievement of the stated learning objectives. Yeah, mostly. It's not exactly clear how the students are engaged and how they're meant to stay engaged with it. It might not be as effective, but nonetheless there is the opportunities for some active learning through the discussion groups and some active reflection upon some of the things that have been discussed. There's no real response or feedback information given, and although the requirements are there, it doesn't tell you exactly how much you need to contribute to the discussion boards. Okay, the tools provided, so this is more a reflection on LAMS than anything else. Yes, it will support the learning objectives. They do guide the student to become an active learner. It's a lot of passive stuff there, but that's okay. Navigation is pretty clear, even if you don't know how to use LAMS. Students can readily access the technologies required in the course. Yes, they can. And they're current. Yep. And then we've got some stuff here, learner support and accessibility. I haven't actually graded this in the course designs, mainly because this stuff is pretty tricky. A lot of it is technology dependent that the teacher has no control over. So there's no real support provided in this module. It may well be in the holding course. Accessible technologies. I don't know what PDF reader would do with this, which is pretty much all we've got to work with. I don't think it's particularly accessible at all. There's no equivalent alternatives to audio or visual content. The design is pretty straightforward and clear, and I don't think it really accommodates things too much apart from allowing PDFs to be included there, although John didn't do it. He put a giant fat PowerPoint in there, so I'm going to actually give that a 0. And that's that.